Ever find yourself eating for comfort? Why do you do that? Why do we comfort eat? I believe it's through habit, to use as a distraction. We've been trained since infancy to be comforted with food. And our primitive survival brains also want us to seek pleasure, to avoid pain whenever we're faced with a threatening situation. We come to learn that unpleasant emotions are threatening and are a thing to be avoided, like the lion that's about to eat us or the crocodile swimming by. And comfort eating does provide a distraction. It works. Briefly. Have you ever noticed? At best, it's only temporary. And although we may have a fleeting moment of pleasure, usually about as long as the food actually lasts, when we comfort food with unhealthy food, we don't actually feel better in the long run. We often feel worse. And the trouble is because we're trying to solve something that isn't hunger with food. And food is the solution to hunger. So that just means that if ever we're eating as a distraction, out of habit, to give ourselves comfort, to self-medicate, then we're just overeating. And so often then that leads to the depression spiral. We feel bad about the choices we were made, and then we create a new unpleasant emotion that needs to be avoided. Remorse, regret, resentfulness, guilt. And so the cycle repeats itself. We eat again to distract ourselves from that emotion. And have you ever noticed that the eating actually doesn't resolve the situation? It doesn't make the emotion go away. It ends up having to be experienced anyway. And avoiding it often makes it feel worse or seem worse. If you've done that, I really do want you to take a moment, just step back. Just recognize that although you might have used food as a distraction, you might have tried to comfort yourself with food, you put off feeling that emotion. But eventually you did feel it. You did actually have to experience it. You want to know something really special? You've been able to cope with every emotion you've ever experienced. And chances are, when you did actually allow yourself to experience it, you will have discovered one of two things. Either it wasn't really that bad, not as bad as you're expecting, or that you discovered you were stronger than you thought. Seneca is quoted as saying, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. And I think that's true. By avoiding and distracting ourselves with food, we actually allow our emotions, our imaginations to build that negative emotion, to build the fear of experiencing it. It just makes it worse and worse and worse. Think about any time you've put something off because you didn't want to deal with it. And then it just became sort of overwhelming, this huge thing. And yet when you actually did it, it wasn't that bad. And it's such a dangerous thought, right? To think that we can't experience emotions, because all of this keeps us locked into this false belief that we can't handle whatever's going on, that we can't cope. And yet, think back. You have coped with every emotion you've ever experienced. You have actually gotten through it. You are actually okay. You can do it. And so you've already proven that to be a lie. So if you can recognize the truth in that, leads me to ask, why do we keep doing it? Pema Chodron says, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. So I wonder, what lessons have you not learnt if you've found yourself in the cycle of emotional eating, comfort eating, time and time again? I find it useful, whenever I'm tempted to comfort eat, to really stop and to slow down and just to really ask myself, what's really going on here? What is the emotion that I'm trying not to feel? What am I trying to avoid here with food? And what am I believing? I so often find that when I slow down and ask myself these questions, I discover my brain just got caught up in a little error. It thought there was something to be frightened of that's really not a big deal. Not anything I have to be worried about. Or I remember that if there's a negative emotion that I'm trying to avoid, that actually I do want to experience negative emotions. They're here for a reason. They help us balance out life. They show us that it's 50-50, 50% unpleasant, 50% pleasant, 50% good, 50% bad. And it is the contrast that makes the good times worthwhile. We want the full range of human emotions. We want the human experience. If we're angry, it's because there's something that we care about. If we're frustrated, it's because we have expectations that aren't being met. If we have sadness or a sense of loss, then it's okay to grieve. We actually want to feel those. So let me ask you, what if you could change that mistaken belief that emotions are to be avoided? What if you want to change that belief that you can't cope? What would you like to believe instead? That you can handle any emotion? That you really can cope? That no matter what happens, you'll be okay? You're amazing. You're loved. You're worthy. And you get to choose what you will do. Will you embrace the emotion? Will you discover what's really going on underneath it, what it's there to teach us? And what else might solve it that isn't food or drink? What could you do differently now and in the future? I would love to know in the comments how you will respond next time you're tempted to comfort eat. And of course, if this video has been helpful, give me a like, put a reaction, or share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe so you do get notified of every new training video that comes up. And if you want even more help with taking charge of emotional overeating, then take this opportunity now and join me in my new program, Stop Sabotaging Your Weight Loss. This is my step-by-step program that teaches you how to manage your thoughts and to feel your feelings in a way that puts you back in charge. It's a step-by-step process that builds these skills over 5 weeks, and it's designed to give you the confidence so that you know that you can completely and permanently overcome emotional eating. You really can get off the weight loss roller coaster, get on with getting to goal, and ultimately get on with the rest of your life. If you're interested to learn more, head to livemorelife.com.au and click on Stop Sabotaging Your Weight Loss. Enrollment's closed this week, so join now. I'd love to see you there.